All right, so our next card, oh my gosh, I love this. So we're doing texture a little differently here. We've done texture with, this is the burlap ribbon. Yes, this is the wide ribbon you have. And we haven't done any embossing. You're welcome to emboss if you want to, but you don't really need to. So let's get started with this card here. And we're gonna start off with making these leaves. And to make those leaves, I am using, a couple colors here. I am using, move all my stuff out of the way here to show you. I'm using the, excuse my dirty ink pad, Wild Wheat, Early Espresso, and Copper Clay. Now, something that's very important when you are doing this card is to keep in mind that you want to start with your light colors first, and you want to thoroughly clean your stamps in between stamping. So we're only doing one of each, but because I am a bad messy stamper and I don't have my chamois wet and ready here, I'm going to start off in this package. Well, let me put this aside first. I'm going to start off, and I am just going to clean. Now, your Palomar stamps will stain. It's just kind of one of the things that happens with them. So I'm just going to make sure I've cleaned that really good, and I've cleaned this one really good. The red colors tend to stain it a little bit more. But I have a nice, clean, blank canvas. The other thing that I am doing is I am making sure that I am starting off with the lightest colors. Now, before I start that, I'm going to go through my package and pull out what I need. So in my package, I have my designer paper, which is already cut. I also have my layer, so that's going to layer on that. And I have my card base, which is just a standard 8.5, 5.5 that's been scored in half. So put all that aside. What you won't find is, although I cut it, I don't know what happened to it, is this little piece, because I feel like this is easier for you to stamp and then die cut. So anybody that's not here in person needed to have the stamps and the dies. So you should have those. If you're here in person, you'll die cut it when you're here. So we are going to start off. I'm going to do both of these on here, and I'm also going to do my saying on here. So I'm going to just put that out of the way. And I'm going to start off with my light colors, and I'm going to start with my bigger one. So basically what I'm going to do is around the edge, maybe a little in the center, I am just roughly stamping. So I started with that wheat, and then I'm layering it with the next. The reason being that you're starting with the light going to dark, and then I'm kind of getting on the edges, is because you want to make sure. Now I've lost something in the midst of all of this. Where did my spritzer go? Oh, it's right here. You want to make sure that you're not ruining your pads. So then you're going to take just a little spritzer, just spritz. If you have any kind of, you can throw water on it, whatever you want to do. And you can stamp that. Now you notice I got some a little on my paper. Don't worry. So see, everyone looks a little different. Oh, I got it all over there too. I made a mess. That's all right. That's kind of what I do. All right. So I'm just rolling and stamping. I'm getting a little in each color. So next I'm going copper, and then I'm going to add a little bit of the brown. I'm going to do what I said not to do, and I'm going to go back and add that because I feel like I didn't get anything in the middle. And then we're going to go some brown. And then this time I'm going to spritz off to the side so I don't make such a mess. But you can see what it does to your leaf, and I'm going to stamp that on there. Let that dry. Don't worry that you don't see a ton of texture and definition, because we're going to add that texture and definition back in when we add the spine. Okay, and the reason we're doing this now is because we want to you know what, before I close this, actually what I'm going to do is I am going to close them, and then I'm going to cut off a little piece, a little corner over here. just so I can go back and do that tag a little later. Just cut that off and put that aside. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp our definition on, which is using our spines. Now don't worry, this goes off the edge because it's going to die cut. So there's our definition. So you can see that when I stamp these, I actually stamp those spines on the background too, which we will do, so that it has that stem come down. And then I have the separate spine I'm going to do on the other leaf. I kind of got a little too much spritz going on this one, but it's okay. It's really still going to be super pretty. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to die cut these. So I was not super prepared for you. So these should fit in my mini machine. If not, we'll pause, we'll go die cut, and we'll come back. But we are going to grab our die. So I don't know if I've showed you, I keep all my dies and my ink or my stamp sets in the same thing when they coordinate, just because it keeps them all together for me. So the 2 dies I need are the 2 leaf dies. I'm gonna pop those back together. Put them back underneath there. And then in your stuff you will have your base. So we're always going to start off, there's a recipe on them, so we're going to start off with number one. Then we're going to put a cutting pad down, which is a 2, and then we are going to put another cutting pad down as a 2. But first, oh, look at that, look at how good I did there. Got that thin enough to go in this one, so it'll work. And then I'm going to pop this on here. Now because I'm using my mini machine, I want to use some low tack tape or a post-it note to hold that in place. So we're going to start with the post-it note. So I'm just going to line it up and take that post-it note and hold that die in place. So I've pressed on the die and pressed on the paper. Same thing I'm going to do with this one here. Line it up, press it on there, and then I'm going to add my 3rd layer, and I'm going to turn this around so it's easier to do, and I'm going to crank it through. Hold it down, crank it through. Okay. Now I'm not going to worry if it moved or it didn't go perfect, because quite honestly, this particular project is meant to look a little rough. So we'll just go ahead and pull all of these off. Oops, that's okay. It's totally okay. It's because the paper's a little wet. That's why it's stuck. I'm gonna put my dies. I'm gonna throw away my scrap. No need for that. Clear out my space. And our next step, can't believe I messed that up. Okay, put my dies up on my magnet sheet. So I don't get lost in my mess. Okay, now when you put your dies, when you put your stamps together, do you take them off the plastic? I do. So I'm just going to put that down to protect my surface, my work surface. And now I've lost, there it is again. Whew. I'm just going to go ahead and spray these again. And I'm just crumpling, you saw me, I'm crumpling it up. I'm crumpling it up. Crumpling it up. Okay. Move that out of my way. And we're going to use our heat tool for the power of getting things done. I'm going to keep crumpling, keep crumpling. Okay. Now, when I dry this with my heat tool, they are going to get a little crunchy. And we're going to use those tweezers that we had just to get that to dry. This is to get, like, you know, the power of TV, to get things to dry up a little faster. As you're drying them, they're going to kind of set. So if you have anything like that that was turned under, kind of try to go in and get that. What we've created. And you'll feel they'll get a little crunchy. They'll totally dry. You can see where that paper up. It didn't really matter on this one at all. Didn't hurt it. It's giving it a little extra. Should use this how it's intended. Now it's not going to fly around. Okay. And if that's pretty close, we can wait. Oops. Pretty close, we can wait while we put the rest of the card together. Okay. So let's get the rest of the card together. Let's set these aside so they finish drying. Out of the way. So we are going to make our card. We need to decide how we want it to be. So this is kind of how I want it to be. Very similar. I'm going to get my chocolate stamp out again. And I'm going to do figure out how I want these first. So I kind of want the big one over here, the smaller one over here. I'm going to kind of lay them down just to get positioning. Ink up my stamp, and then I'm just going to kind of pull it out and stamp. Okay, so when I put that one on, it's going to go there. I'm going to do the same thing with my other spine, kind of figure out where I want it. I kind of want it to be right there, so I'm going to do that. Made sure everything was out of the way. It was. Thought I didn't. And then that's where those are going to go. Okay. The other thing I'm going to do is while I'm here is I'm going to stamp my saying that says I'm thankful. Now I want to bring that up a little bit because I want to be able to put the little tag underneath it. And so there you go. I've got that. I've got that. And then I'm going to go back, take that little piece of scrap that we cut out, find my saying that says, for all you do, just stamp it. For all you do. And I did it in the wrong color, so I'm going to find that little thing, clean it up. We got plenty of paper. And we're going to do it again because it was supposed to be in copper. So there's no mistakes in stamping. You know that, right? For all you do, nice and clean. I'm going to toss these over here. Close up my ink pad so I don't stick a hand in them. Don't want to wipe that. I'm going to clean my stamp up and put this out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to pull my cut and emboss machine back up here. And I'm going to pull my 3 plates that I had earlier back up here. And we're going to find our die. Grab that out. So anything that you had to stamp and cut tonight, if you were not in class, came in the die kit. If it didn't, you would have had, like, I pre-die cut everywhere I could. So I didn't pre-die cut these sleeves because, as you can see, we wanted to be able to align and put them where they belong. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in here. Put that on there where I want it. So if you can see, I'm just laying that down and holding it. I'm going to throw that piece on there. This piece is so little and wonky, I'm actually going to put it on both sides so it doesn't move. And crank it through. Good luck if you find that little piece, because I did die cut them. I die cut them thinking, I'm going to have you do that. I'm going to have you stamp on that little tiny piece. So now I'm going to be a little more careful when I pull off these Post-it notes because I don't want to rip my ink off. And then I was like, I don't think you can do that. I don't think that's very nice of me. That would be really hard to stamp off of. So, all right. Don't need that piece of paper. I'm going to throw that in the trash. That's me being better about not having a bunch of little scraps everywhere. Okay, let's put our card together. So let's just start layering. Throw this over here. It was like a Tetris puzzle prepping this class for you guys, because my original intention when I first started designing this class is that you were going to get a half a pack of paper. And then this paper has been wildly popular. It has sold out 3 times. It came back yesterday for like a couple hours. Supposedly there'll be some more back next week. So check. We can check for you every day, but yeah. I'm gonna lay that on here. Okay, put that on there. And then we're going to use dimensionals, and I'm gonna go back to the bigger pieces for these to put our leaves on. So I'm just gonna toss so you can see now. These are a little more crunchy. They've had time to dry. I would wait till these are dry before you actually put them on, just because. And then you can kind of crunch them a little bit more if you don't have them crunched up enough, or if you want it to be a little more rustic looking, however you feel. It's your card. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't have to look exactly like mine. So I'm going to take all these little dimensionals. These are the bane of my existence. They're all over my house. Everywhere. Everywhere. Okay. So, and it's okay that that got on there. I'm just going to crunch that up a little bit. Okay. Then I'm going to use the tiny dimensionals. But even for this, I have to cut these tiny dimensionals in half. Oh, wait, look, I had one open. That's me. That's what I do. Get some little scissors out here. And I am just going to pop these little dimensionals in half with my snips. And I am going to take them. And then, oh, where did it go? There it is. I'm going to pop these on the back. So I just took one and popped it in half. It's good enough. That's good. So I'm thankful for all you do. Okay. Now let's talk about how I did this. This is, so I'm going to cut about, I think I'm going to do about 9 inches. Yeah, about 9 inches should be enough, okay? And I'm going to cut that 9 inches off, because remember, we're limited on what we have here. Same thing, this was also discontinued. I want the edges of this, okay? So I'm cutting right up to that. Okay. What if you got too close and you cut it off? Not a big deal. I'm going to show you what else you can do. Okay, so I've done that. I'm going to run my fingers on it to kind of make it look a little rusticy. Okay. Then the other thing you could do is you could just pull out. So I took some of the fibers there and I could create a bow. That actually didn't give me enough, so let me grab a couple more. And I'm going to put those together. So now that looks a little thicker. And I'm going to tie a little bow with that. Let's get over here a little bit easier. It's a little wonky. Got to get used to it. Keep those sections together. Okay. Pull it tight. Straight. Look. So that's the bow that was here on the left. Okay. And then the other piece that's more like cording, I just kind of took that, roughed it up, and I'm going to do that. Now you could do them both with the cording. You've got 2 sides, 2 edges to the ribbon, or you could do one with the cording, one without, however you want to do it. And then I just pop these on here using, again, glue dots. I'm gonna pop that in there, and then the same thing with the other one. Just glue dots, and I kind of take my nail and grab that glue dot underneath it because I trust no one in that ribbon. That bow is a little fragile. So there you go. So you can see, like, they look totally different each time. So this first one I stamped, I got a lot more of that wheat on than I did the other time. Totally fine, but I would just take this. I'm going to do a little cleanup. It looks that's a little, like, that's even a little too organic for my tastes. Okay, so now you have your card. You're all done. Now you do have a few extra pieces of DSP in your Designer Series paper DSP in your package. So if you want to do, we're going to do a couple of them where you, you're going to do a couple cards that have stuff on the flaps. So you can take some out of there, find one that you like. There's a really pretty, I think there's a white with some bronze, which would be pretty on that flap. So you'll see how to do that a little bit later. But that's it. On to the next card.